Hi, during the next few weeks I'd like to invite you to join with me as we walk through my recent book, which has been put out by IVP. It's called Discovering Our Spiritual Identity. In this book I explore 16 signposts towards an authentic, genuine Christian spirituality. In the first chapter I invite the reader to explore their picture of God. I remember very, very vividly the first time I was asked to do that. I was in my early 30s, I was in the ministry, and I'd reached a place of extreme weariness and burnout. I'd become withdrawn in my relationships, particularly with those closest to me, and even with God. And I found my way to a very good friend and mentor who also happened to be a Christian psychiatrist. For about an hour, I shared with him what I was going through, all the signs of the burnout and the weariness and the tiredness and the withdrawal. And at the end of my sharing, he asked me a very surprising question. He asked me, "Trevor, could you tell me a little about your picture of God?" I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to talk to me about priorities or about time management. But somehow he knew something that I still needed to learn. He knew that our picture of God shapes very, very deeply the way in which we live our lives. Somehow I saw God as a very passive observer of my life whom I needed to please. And it was driving me into a place of deep tiredness. I wonder what your picture of God is. Some of us see God as a policeman, and that causes many of us to live very fearfully. Some of us see God as a heavenly tyrant, and we don't want to get too intimate with God. Some of us see God as a Santa Claus figure who's always going to give us what we want, and that leads to a lot of disappointment and disillusionment. I wonder if I could invite you just for a moment to pause and to think about your picture of God. Not the one that you have in your head, but the one that operates in the deepest part of your being. In this first chapter, I offer the reader 2 words about thinking about their picture of God. First of all, I offer them the word mystery. On the one hand, God is always a boundless mystery. My Jesuit friends often say to me, they have a lovely phrase, they often say to me, "Trevor, God is always greater. God is always greater than what we think about God. God is always greater than our theology, always greater than our doctrine, always greater than our church, always greater than our experience." And somehow, if we can always retain a sense of mystery when it comes to God, I think it keeps our theology of God in a very good place. The other word that I give to the reader is Jesus Christ. If we want to know what God is like, there is always one place we look, and that is Jesus Christ. In the life of Jesus, through his teachings, in his death, in his resurrection, we catch a wonderful glimpse of the character and the nature of God. And that's what I do in this first chapter. I invite you to have a look at it yourself. There are a number of questions that you can explore in a group and that you can write about in your own journal. God bless you.